and welcome to NTA Nationwide. My name is Juma Yusuf. President Muhammadu Buhari is reminding world leaders that it is in their own collective interest to cooperate in tackling illicit financial flows, investigating and prosecuting corrupt individuals and entities, as well as repatriating such funds to their countries of origin. The president stated this while addressing the 73rd session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
Making the United Nations relevant to all people, global leadership and shared responsibilities for peaceful, equitable and sustainable societies is the focus of this year's General Assembly. It is therefore an opportunity for the world leaders to give their countries perspectives towards achieving their objectives and making the world a better place for all of humanity. For President Muhammadu Buhari, resolving international conflicts, crises and wars, defeating terrorism and insurgency, curbing arms trafficking, fighting corruption and other global challenges can only be effective through concerted action and multilateral cooperation.
Corruption within countries and illicit flow of funds across national boundaries have huge negative impact on the stability, peace and economic prospect of millions in developing countries. Corruption significantly drives national governments of resources to provide meaningful livelihoods to their populations who are predominantly youth, thus giving rise to more irregular migration. The fight against corruption, therefore, involves us all.
The president described as regrettable that many of the crises and threats to peace and security around the world remain unresolved, and in some cases, matters got worse. He said although the crises have a variety of festering causes and effects, it is the failure to address them early and effectively that leads to out-of-control conflicts.
International community cannot afford to give up on the Syrian and Yemeni people. We must pursue all efforts to find peaceful, negotiated political solutions to these wars, which cannot be won by force of arms alone. We support the United Nations efforts in ensuring that the Rohingya refugees are allowed to return to their homes in Myanmar with security, protection, and guarantee of citizenship.
President Buhari once again made a case for rededicated international engagement towards accelerating the recovery efforts in the Lake Chad Basin. This, he said, will go a long way towards minimizing economic competition between farmers and herders, as well as irregular migration to Europe. He also called for a speedy reform of the United Nations Security Council with expanded membership in both the permanent and non-permanent categories.
It is high time we stop skirting around the issue and establish achievable benchmarks and time frames for these reforms. I assure you all that in this advocacy, I am only reflecting Nigeria's deep and abiding commitment to our organization and its founding principles and goals.
The president takes pride in the remarkable contribution of Nigeria to peacekeeping operations around the world, as well as mobilizing the required human and material resources towards achieving other set goals of the United Nations for sustainable development.
We, in the spirit of international solidarity, will readily cooperate with other nations seeking to achieve similar goals for their own populations to help ensure that no one is left behind. I thank you very much for your attention.
President Muhammadu Buhari, whose address to this General Assembly was the fourth since coming to power, once again spoke virtually for Africa, stressing the need for the strengthening of the United Nations, making it more effective, equitable, and true representative of the global community, both in a political and moral imperative. From New York, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Meanwhile, economic watchers say Nigeria's quest for industrialization is achievable especially through entrepreneurial drive. This was part of their submission on NTA's Current Affairs program Tuesday Live. Talatu Ezirike reports.
Extremism, insurgency, prolonged conflict, illicit financial flows and corruption affect global peace and security. The consequences, many say, are terrible as no nation grows in a state of anarchy and political or economic instability. President Muhammadu Buhari at the United Nations General Assembly raised the need for more commitment to global peace and security, as well as the promotion of gender balance and fighting corruption.
It is in our collective interest to cooperate in tracking illicit financial flows, investigate and prosecute corrupt individuals and entities, and repatriate such funds to their countries of origin.
A language well understood.
Cross-border initiatives and sub-regional and regional initiatives are very critical in interdiction of the flow of arms and finances and the movement of fighters. If we don't do something about it, corruption will destroy this country. And I think Mr. President is right by taking the fight theoretically, philosophically, even emotionally to the United Nations.
Well, many believe that walking the talk should be taken seriously for efficient results and good governance. Talati Ezerike, NTA News.
ECOWAS Parliament has adopted the budgetary estimate of 9.8 million units of accounts submitted by its Finance Committee for the year 2019. Prior to the adoption, the Parliament considered and applauded its midterm budget performance. James Orok completes the story.
In accordance with Rules 30 and 37 of the Rules of Procedures, the Budget and Audit Committee has been monitoring activities and programs of the Parliament, and so it was time to report at plenary.
The ECOWAS Parliament budget for the 2018 fiscal year was balanced in revenue and expenditure at 18,776,624 UA.
The mid-year expenditure being cleared, the Parliament moved ahead to consider and adopt the over 19.8 million units of accounts budget for the year 2019.
The Committee of Administration, Finance, Budget, Control and Audit submitted the draft of the 2019 budget of Parliament for the approval of the budget was balanced in revenue and an expenditure of 19,823,000 UA.
The Parliament's budget will then be considered again alongside other ECOWAS institutions' budgets in November in Abuja. In Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, Joseph Orok.
Joseph, the Buhari administration has continued to win the hearts of people in Gombe State as it works towards the successful execution of the abandoned multi-billion naira Datinkowa hydroelectric project. Ibrahim Jibrin has an update on the project and its benefit to the entire sub-region.
Abandoned for nearly 3 decades, the multi-billion naira Datinkowa hydropower project is a dream project becoming a reality. The project was re-awarded in 2006 but continued in a slow pace until the coming of the Buhari administration. No site engineer was on ground to speak to NTA News. However, we understand that the 40 megawatts capacity hydroelectricity project capable of generating enough power to the northeast sub-region is nearing completion. The Datinkowa Dam, with 2.8 billion cubic meters of water, is enough to generate the needed megawatts of hydroelectricity and water the 44,000 hectares of irrigatable land for food production. Electricity transmission expert Nasiru Jibrin said having additional 40 megawatts of electricity will no doubt help in reviving the nation's economy and improve living conditions of Nigerians.
If this project is completed, I'm telling you, we're going to add almost 40 megawatts into the system. It will not only benefit Gombe, but to the whole country as a whole.
Having lost hope in view of years of abandonment, people in Gombe State are more than ever before optimistic about the project. They applauded the Buhari administration for making the hydropower project a reality. In Gombe, Ibrahim Jibrin, NTA News.
Towards addressing the devastating effect of climate change with a view to developing resilient drylands, the Center for Dryland Agriculture, Bio-University Kano is determined to finding a sustainable solution to the challenges facing sub-Saharan Africa. Mahamudu Rabiu Ali reports that this was the crux of the 3rd International Conference on Drylands in Kano.
Change is a phenomenon that imposes a serious threat to the productivity of any nation, and Nigeria inclusive. It is also a major concern to the United Nations towards attaining the Sustainable Development Goals. Against this backdrop, the Center for Dryland Agriculture, Bayero University, Kano, with international organizations, come together to have a workable solution to address the menace.
I'm delighted that the theme of the 2018 conference stands out in the way it challenges speakers and presenters to seek solutions or give insights into understanding the serious challenges posed by climate change, competition for natural resources, and the conflicts in the dryland areas.
The Biennial International Conference on Drylands is one of the programs of the CDA that provides a platform for dissemination of research findings and networking and sharing of experiences between scientists, practitioners, and other stakeholders.
Kano State Deputy Governor Nasir Yusuf Gawuna says the choice of Kano is not by mistake, considering the agricultural potentials it has, assuring continued support to Bayero University Kano.
The present government is committed not only to regain the past glories of agricultural excellence in the country, but also to move agriculture from subsistence to commercial enterprises. This is definitely witnessed by various programs.
It is expected that during the conference, 70 papers will be presented by different scholars from within and outside the country that will address environmental challenges, climate resilience in the drylands of Africa, crops adaptation to dryland environment under changing climate, among others. The conference had the theme, Resource Constraints, Conflict and Changing Climate in the Drylands, Options for Attaining Sustainable Development Goals. Muhammad Rabiu Ali, NTA News.
And now to politics. Preparatory to the 2019 general elections, the African Democratic Congress, ADC, has concluded its governorship party primaries with Abdulaziz Murtala Inyako emerging as the sole candidate of the party in Adamawa State. Simon Asha reports that under the party's guidelines, primary election must hold even if it's one aspirant vying for an elective position.
An election which was conducted under a peaceful atmosphere, so delegates across the 21 local government areas of the state exercising their franchise on who becomes the party's governorship flag bearer come 2019 general elections. National Secretary of the party, who is also the returning officer of the primary elections in the state, Said Baba Abdullahi, expressed satisfaction with the way and manner the election was conducted, describing it as transparent, free, and fair.
We have a candidate which the party says whether he is alone, we must conduct primary. Delegate must vote for him.
Chairman Organizing Committee for the primary election, Mitinyawa Kugama, said, despite Abdulaziz Murtala Inyako emerging as sole candidate of the party, it has become mandatory for the party to conduct the elections in line with the constitution of the ADC.
Everything is going well, no problem, and we are seeing how things are moving, very successful.
Voting is something that occurs only once in 4 years. It's not just and that is why we are happy that the voting is ongoing, despite the fact that I'm the only candidate.
2,237 delegates participated at the governorship primary elections of the party. In Yola, Simon Asha, NTA News.
Former head of state and member of the National Peace Committee, General Abdulsalam Abubakar, has called on the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, security operatives and religious leaders to ensure lasting peace reigns in Nigeria before and after elections. This was at a meeting held behind closed doors in Abuja.
The INEC chairman and his staff, and also we have security agencies here who have got one role or the other in performing of this election. In furtherance of ensuring that the peace continue, we are going to listen to them and hear their complaints and also appeal to them to make sure that this politics is played without bitterness.
The committee also met with chairmen of registered political parties, during which General Abdusalam Abubakar said the interaction is to douse tension following happenings after the declaration by INEC that Osun State election was inconclusive. The Benue State Police Command has warned politicians to desist from supplying firearms to thugs for their selfish interest. The new Commissioner of Police, Benue State Command, Etim Ene Okun, stated this in Makurdi while briefing journalists on the command's activities in the past 1 month. Grace Ichepa reports that the commissioner also paraded 12 suspects for various crimes.
Mr. Etim Ene Okun said the police will deal with any sponsor of thuggery and suppliers of firearms before, during and after elections.
It will be proper for politicians to sell themselves to the electorate rather than resorting to the use of arms to intimidate, harass, maim, or kill opponents.
The commissioner also said an armed robbery suspect, Onduwasi Embega, was arrested along Makudi Lafia Road on the 7th of this month at about 11 p.m., dressed in the Nigerian Army camouflage, robbing unsuspected victims. He further said several arrests have been made within the state, including the 12 suspects that were paraded before journalists. Items recovered from the suspects include 8 locally made guns, 378 live ammunition, 4 cartridges, Toyota Camry, motorcycle, telescope, and assorted charms. Mr. Etim Ene Okon also warned commercial motorcyclists, popularly known as Okada riders, that those motorcycles that are not registered will be impounded. The Commissioner of Police assumed office on the 23rd of August 2018. In Makudi, Grace Ichepa, NTA News.
The Nigerian police force has been commended for its robust strategies in curbing criminal activities and enforcing law and order through peace and harmonious coexistence with the public. This was at the presentation of a book titled Police in the Eyes of the Public. Akim Dairo's report is here presented.
In the past, there was a breakdown of trust between the Nigerian police force and the public, owing to the misunderstanding of the mandate of the police in maintaining peace and order due to the high-handedness of some officers in carrying out their duties. But recently, the force is fostering a better relationship with the public at the book launch titled Police in the Eyes of the Public. Stakeholders say the efforts of the police is yielding positive results.
The book is trying to show that the police are members of the society, and the society should partner with the police in order to make the police force a better place.
The police have been accused of recruiting bad eggs into the force, in which, in my own opinion, and even in my research, I found out that it's not the fault of the Nigerian police to recruit bad eggs into the force. It is the public themselves that inject the bad eggs into the force.
We know that security is the most important element for a nation to thrive or for a nation to develop. So anybody that is associated with supporting security, I think that person must be pleased.
The 93-page book is expected to sensitize Nigerians on the operational guidelines of the force.
Officers and men of the Nigerian Army have been urged to maintain high level of discipline and respect for civil authorities. The General Commanding Officer, 81 Division, Major General Musa Yusuf, stated this during his visit to 35 Artillery Brigade, Alamala Abayokuta. Lukman Adefeso's report is here presented.
Officer commanding 81 Division visit is in continuation of his visit to all formations under him, in line with the directive of Chief of Army Staff to ensure that the mission to have professionally responsive Nigerian Army in the discharge of its constitutional duties are carried out to the letter. The GOC, Major General Musa Yusuf, called on the 35 Artillery Brigade, Alamala, to continue to maintain high level of discipline and have respect for civil authority. The GOC commended the commander, 35 Artillery, Brigadier General Olatunde, for various innovations and repairs carried out in the barracks since he assumed duty.
We have seen in the course of our going around those areas that have been addressed by the Army Headquarters and where projects are still ongoing. I have taken adequate note of all the challenges area, the ones that are within the powers of the division, we will handle them. And the ones that are outside the powers of the div, we will escalate them to the office of Chief of Army Staff.
The commander, 35 Artillery Brigade, Alamala, Brigadier General Olaniyi Olatunde, appreciated the GOC pledging total commitment to the Nigerian Army. The GOC had earlier visited the Alake and paramount ruler of Egbaland, Oba Michael Gbadebo, for royal blessings, where the monarch commended the army for its gallantry in the fight against terrorism. The GOC assumed duty as commanding officer, 81 Division, comprising Lagos and Ogun State, on 7th of August this year.
Today is the International Day of Sign Language. Jotun has details of these and more from our Lagos Network Center. Hello, Jotun.
Thank you, Jumai, for joining us in Lagos. Former Speaker, Lagos State House of Assembly, Senator Olorunnibe Mamora, has called for the involvement of professionals in politics, as it is the only way to enhance the practice of politics in Nigeria. He made the appeal at a lecture titled Profession Also in Politics, Challenges, Expectations and Prospects in Lagos. Doing Dia reports.
It was a gathering of professionals from various sectors of Nigeria's economy. Their common objective and interest is on Nigeria's political landscape, which has over the years been characterized by hatred, unhealthy rivalry, physical assault, intimidation, blackmail, and amongst others, all of which are discouraging factors for some Nigerian professionals. For the guest lecturer, Senator Olorunnibe Mamora, the bulk of challenges of governance in the Nigerian democratic system is that of limited participation, especially in the areas of scrutiny and integrity checks on those vying for elective offices by professionals.
A situation where the only thing the professional politician has nothing else that he's doing. And that is what brings in the do-or-die approach. What we need to do is elimination by substitution, because the primary aim of politics is service.
There were reactions to the lecture.
That is where our problem is today, that people see the politics as the avenue for making money and not service to the people.
As human beings, all politicians, very soon maybe we'll be awaiting some development in that arena.
Our professionals manning every duty post as far as police is concerned. That is the only way out for Nigerian economy.
For the gathering, there couldn't have been a better time to bring up such topic to the fore, most especially as Nigeria prepares for the 2019 general elections. In Lagos, Doing Dia, NTA News.
The Federation of the Deaf says about 20 million people in Nigeria suffer exclusion because of language gap. To bridge this gap, the United Nations commemorates the International Day of Sign Language with this year's theme as "With Sign Language, Everyone is Included." Hinginu John Adams has more details.
Mrs. Ego Chikwemeka has been teaching this special set of children for the past 8 years. It is a passion, she says, started over 20 years ago.
When you have passion and love with the children, you will not see it as a difficult thing.
To create an inclusive platform for the estimated 20 million deaf people in Nigeria who suffer exclusion, stigmatization, and discrimination, the Director, United Nations Information Center, Mr. Roland Kayanja, and other speakers advocate awareness.
We have up to 80 million people who are deaf
in the world today. And we are excluded if we don't use sign language. They cannot understand what's going on around us.
All the English we speak, we are a product of our experience, exposure, and the trainings that we've received in life. And if we give the same thing or same opportunities for them, we could demand development. Everybody will be included.
This celebration is unique because this is the first time a day of sign languages is celebrated globally. With this maiden edition, it is expected that with sign language, everyone will be included, just as the theme implies. The children here are excited and wishing everyone a happy International Sign Languages Day as part of the International Week of the Deaf. The day is to be marked annually on the 23rd of September. In Lagos, Hingino John Adams, NTA News.
20 youths in Lagos have been acquiring new skills from the 2018 Global Day for Action initiative as part of the Sustainable Development Goals. Elizabeth Omoriyi reports that the youths were taken to the slums of Bariga for training on the art of photography.
View behind me. I'm actually at a community in Bariga called Isale Akoka. This year, some Nigerian photographers decided to converge to click their shooters. They're not only clicking, they're also teaching the youngsters in this community how to take professional shots and also eke a living from photography.
Most of the residents live in shacks and most are fishermen hoping for a better day. This is the environment that the photographers are documenting and capturing their life in pictures. This is the way the United Nations chose to commemorate the 3rd anniversary of the adoption of the Sustainable Development Goals. 20 youngsters were selected and trained in photography and arts. Youths are using Isale Code to learn to tell their stories through their lenses and put the spotlight on the challenges confronting their communities.
My focus was my subject, what I thought about and all my feelings about it. The toilet. Okay. In this area we have a toilet issue. We're using the toilet on top of the water.
I want to use the camera to gain a profit, to make good of myself and my family.
Bolanle Olumeko, the Knowledge Management Assistant at the United Nations Office in Lagos, speaks on the SDGs Action Network.
Well, photography, like we all know, it's the best form to actually show visuals. It's not enough to just talk about things, but when people are actually seeing the picture of what you're describing or what you're saying, it gives more impact.
The final images will be selected and placed in the world's largest photo book. In Lagos, Elizabeth Omori, NTA News.
Those are the stories from Lagos. Nationwide continues after this break.
Is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
Under no conditions whatsoever should we tolerate or excuse or justify hate speech or hateful conduct of any kind, especially where such is illegal.
There's no doubt that the resurgent push for separatism, as well as the rising cases of ethnic and religious disharmony, are all traceable to the growing phenomenon of hate speech.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
For years, the NTA has been promoting science, technology, arts and crafts under the tagged name National Children's Expo. We are set with another edition as we gather children around Nigeria, junior category ages 6 to 12 and senior category ages 13 to 18. The theme for Expo 2018, achieving self-sufficiency in agriculture, meeting the challenges of security and exposition of alternative energy as pathways to national development. Date, October 21st to 25th, 2018. Venue, NTA Headquarters Arena, Area 11, Garki, Abuja. we are set to celebrate the best of innovation across the country. For more information, please call the following numbers. NTA ETV, promoting learning.
Fake news which is shared for malicious purposes is a danger to our peace and security in Nigeria. Misinformation as fake news is a serious threat to our hard-earned democracy and promotes hatred and misunderstanding between our communities. We are all responsible for stopping the spread of fake news in its tracks. So, always check the source and credibility of any news item. Say no to fake news. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information.
Zuma Film Festival 2018 Abuja. Theme: Archiving for Creativity. Date: December 1st to 7th, 2018. Featuring film screenings, masterclasses, special tributes, NFC Annual Film Lecture, NFC Annual Essay Competition Awards, special national and state days, Lifetime Achievement Awards, and Zuma Film Festival 2018 Awards. Submission of entries for non-competition, competition and screening is ongoing and closes September 30th, 2018. All entries should be forwarded to the Festival Director, Zuma Film Festival Nigerian Film Corporation, headquarters in Jos, and/or its zonal offices in Abia, Lagos, Kano, Asaba, Yola, and Abuja, or through the Film Freeway online platform, www.filmfreeway.com. For further inquiries, call 08033146842, 08052728321, or 08063390420, or visit the website www.zumafilmfest.gov.ng. Zuma Film Festival 2018, December 1st to 7th, Abuja, Nigerian's foremost film festival.
In this community, there is no health center, there is no clinic. Before we could get to access to any community clinic around, we would have lost the patient.
Especially with our community, àìsàn tó nǹkan kan ló jẹ́ kí n di opó ọ̀sán kan báyìí.
At times, I shed tears, crying.
Welcome back to NTA Nationwide. The emergency meeting between the federal government and the organized labor has ended with both parties taking separate positions, while labor insists there's no going back on the nationwide strike to commence midnight Wednesday. The federal government has fixed the 4th of October for a new date to reconvene the tripartite minimum wage committee. The Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, Dr. Mekan Tibaro, has appealed to motorists and other consumers of petroleum products across the country not to engage in panic buying of products due to the Nigerian Labour Congress NLC planned industrial action. The federal government says it is adopting the NNPC GMD as affirming that the nation has 37 days petrol self-sufficiency, assuring that all the NNPC depots across the country, including the private ones engaged by the corporation, has an abundance of petroleum products to meet the needs of Nigerians. The statement said all NNPC depot managers have been instructed to intensify products loading and other activities in their depot to avert any fallout of development in respect of the NLC proposed strike. Dr. Borough explained that the NNPC will continue to meet the product's consumption needs of all Nigerians wherever they may be within the shores of the country. The federal government says it is adopting a reviewed performance management system policy to address the identified gaps and inadequacy of current system with a view to having a civil service that is at the center of delivery of public goods and critical infrastructure. Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Winfred Oyo-Ita, says this to COS 27 participants of the National Defense College in Abuja. Defense correspondent Olajide Bello has details.
The Nigerian civil service may not be where it should be, given its checkered history. It is definitely not stagnant.
The head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Winifred Oyo-Ita, taking participants of Course 27 down memory lane and the various reforms in the Nigerian civil service from the 18th century till date. Part of strategies adopted by the federal government is staff training and retraining, particularly in emerging workplace technologies and practices to further reposition the workforce for higher productivity, confidence, and competence.
With these ongoing reforms, I am very optimistic that the Nigerian civil service, as we know it, is poised for better service delivery that would contribute to the national development efforts of our great nation.
The EPIC program, that's the Efficiency, Productivity, Incorruptible, and Citizen-Centered program of the current administration. And I believe this, if properly applied, executed, and implemented, will result in a significant improvement in the ongoing effort to reposition the civil service of the Federation.
The overall objective of the federal government is the enthronement of a civil service that is appropriately motivated, disciplined, skilled, and accountable. From the National Defense College in Abuja, Olajide Bello, NTA News.
The teaching profession in the country is expected to receive a boost with the planned employment of 800 teachers by the federal government, in addition to a World Bank-funded professional capacity development program. This was contained in a message by President Muhammadu Buhari at the 6th Quadrennial National Conference of the Nigerian Union of Teachers, holding in Minna, Niger State. Dauda Mohammed reports that the president was represented by the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Education, Sonny Ichono.
President Muhammadu Buhari, who outlined his administration's respect for the teaching profession, reiterated that government will continue to respect the law that basic education must remain free. Represented by the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Education, Sonny Ichono, President Muhammadu Buhari said concerted efforts towards sensitizing parents to the importance of education has led to the enrollment of 5.5 million new intakes of pupils in states across the country. In their separate remarks, governors of Niger and Kebbi states, Abubakar Sani Bello and Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, described the role of teachers as custodians of the future, as well as veritable tools for nation building.
Possibly thinking, haven't decided yet, if to increase the retirement age for teachers so that you're able to retain them as long as possible.
We are investing in ensuring that girls in particular enjoy staying in school so that they can realize their dreams.
If our government continues to play politics in the name of public education, Nigeria begins a journey that goes to nowhere.
Dr. Rosemary Nwangwa of UNICEF Abuja office presented a paper on the theme of the conference, Strengthening National Consciousness and Nation Building by the Instrumentality of Public School System in Nigeria.
Economic watchers say Nigeria's quest for industrialization is achievable, especially through entrepreneurial drive. This was part of their submission on NTA's Current Affairs program Tuesday Live. Talatu Ezurike reports.
Global interests are mostly that of industrialization, anchored on technical know-how and skill acquisition. This Nigeria takes seriously, especially through the Industrial Training Fund ITF, established 40 years ago in building indigenous trained manpower sufficient to meet the needs of the economy. Nigerians are therefore happy with turnout of events, given the history where foreigners overtook the country's technical works in buildings, construction, and the industrial sector. Interestingly, thousands of Nigerians have benefited from the fund.
Honestly, I have zero idea before I started this whole IT. But now I can actually, I can see myself as a reporter, once I'm done.
We go into areas of working relationship that will enable us equip the young Nigerians with skills.
There are concerns on compliance with the ITF 2011 Amended Act that stipulates that 1% of annual staff salaries be paid by private companies and government organizations into the fund.
We have 925 trades
which were either difficult to fill or hard to fill in the country's labor market. We are advocating that our educational system must embrace the issue of TVET, technical vocational education and training, right from the onset.
The idea is to build competencies.
Right.
If we don't build these competencies, then we are back to square one, and then we continue to import these people back into the country.
All our activities are on the net for people to apply.
No doubt the interest of the fund is to tackle the twin challenge of poverty and unemployment. Talati Zurike, NTA News.
Colleges of Education Staff Union has called on government to, as a matter of urgency, address poor funding and condition of service of members in states and federal colleges of education to avoid industrial action. President of the union, Nuhu Ogirima, made this indication at a media briefing in Abuja. Ogirima, who admitted that the entire tertiary education system has been grossly underfunded by successive administrations. The case of colleges of education remains the most pathetic in spite of its quintessential as a citadel for funding teacher education, training and development. He said failure by the government to address the issue, the union will embark on industrial action even if the NLC government issues on minimum wage is resolved.
That this is collective though, because even while that of the universities have been attended to, as we speak with you now, the federal government had even released the conservative estimate on the cost of the on the financial implication of the needs assessment for universities to the tune of about 1.3 trillion naira. That of the public colleges of education dates back 2014. A cost estimate has not been determined by government. Besides this, lecturers of the colleges of education and even our non-academic counterparts have been receiving fractional salaries.
Abdullahi Musa Sulejo reports that the president also pointed out that there are other thorny issues pending that needs government to address for proper revival of colleges of education system in the country. These include upholding agreement between the government with the union in 2010, payment of arrears of peculiar academic allowances owed the union since 3 years ago, release of fund for the implementation of the review report of 2014 needs assessment of public colleges of education. Practicable solutions and strategies that will reposition and promote the ideals of the National Youth Service Corps scheme was the focus at the opening of the 2018 National Youth Service Corps Annual Management Conference held in Akure, Ondo State. Abiola Ariyo reports that the Director General Suleiman Kazaure presided over the conference.
In line with the objective of the scheme, which aims to raise the moral tone of the Nigerian youths by giving them opportunity to learn about higher ideals of national achievements, the conference centralizes on promoting the present and future operating environment. NYSC Director General, Brigadier General Suleiman Kazaure, said the annual conference serves as an avenue for management of the scheme to critically review the policies of operations with a view to setting an agenda for greater performance in subsequent years.
In 45 years of existence, and the need to evolve strategies that will enhance operations and open new opportunities.
Chairman, NYSC National Governing Board, Fatima Bala, assured that the Governing Board will continue to complement the efforts of the Director General towards ensuring that state secretariats live up to their statutory responsibilities through advocacy visits.
The theme of the conference is a reminder of the present administration quest to reposition the economy.
Ondo State Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu, who was represented by his deputy while declaring the conference open, assured that government will not relent in its efforts at supporting the scheme. The 2018 NYSC Annual Management Conference, which coincided with the 45th anniversary of the scheme, is with the theme NYSC at 45, consolidating gains and creating opportunities. In Akure, Abiola Rio, NTA News.
More than 1.1 million people living with HIV/AIDS are currently on antiretroviral drugs nationwide, in which 17,000 are from Ogun State. The Director General, National Agency for the Control of AIDS, NACA, Dr. Sani Aliu, stated this during his visit to Abuja, the Ogun State capital. And Tony Galdo News report is presented from our studios.
The visit of the Director General NACA is to monitor the progress of the National AIDS Indicator and Impact Survey across Ogun State. The exercise, described as the largest single-country AIDS survey carried out in the world, is to last for 6 months in Nigeria. In Ogun State, the survey, already 4 weeks, revealed that 17,000 people living with HIV, including 800 pregnant women, are currently receiving treatment.
The survey will give us more precise estimates of the HIV prevalence in Ogun State. It will allow us to do more effective advocacy when it comes to your government. It will allow us to seek for resources that can be used judiciously.
Dr. Aliu later visited the blood bank unit of the state hospital before rounding off his tour at the palace of the Alake and paramount ruler of Egba land, Oba Adidotun Gbadebo.
Nigeria is to commence export of honey and its byproducts to the United States and European markets. This is coming as the federal government partners with the African Union to boost honey production output on the continent. Musa Baba Ali, who was at the EPI Expo Africa, reports that the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, represented President Muhammadu Buhari.
The EPI Expo Africa is an initiative towards boosting the income of Africans through production, processing and marketing of honey and its byproducts.
Now, EpiTrade collaborates with national governments to host this event. It happened in North Africa, it happened in East and South Africa.
Nigeria is hosting the 6th edition of the Expo, which focuses on beekeeping for sustainable development, wealth creation, and economic diversification.
Government is formulating new policies to drive the developmental processes for the industry, as well as supporting capacity building of our beekeepers and processors.
Nigeria's Minister of Agriculture, Adu Ogbe, says the country has the capacity to produce over 20 million liters annually.
But also to insist that only the finest standards of production are applied as we seek to be part of this very vital sector of the agricultural and food industry.
Over 30 countries across Africa are participating in the 5-day event. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Let's go for another commercial break. Nationwide returns shortly.
Happy birthday, that is all I can say.
Hooray! It's here again. NTA Abuja Zodiac Children's Party, September 2018 edition. It's going to be fun all through, as this September edition will be graced by Her Excellency Chief Mrs. Yetunde Ononuga, the Deputy Governor of Ogun State. Children, what are you waiting for? Come, enjoy yourself to the fullest as we party with September children and their friends. Party date, Saturday 29 September 2018. Venue, NTA Abuja Ogbe premises. Time, 12 noon. Gate fee, 500 naira. 500 naira only. Candy flocks and face painting are available. You are guaranteed unlimited fun, games, and lots of gifts to take home. Be there.
Many happy returns.
This is my first experience riding this train. I've heard about it so much all around the city.
Actually, I'm surprised that such a development is coming to us.
I was impressed, saw neat, and actually you can compare with any type of train, all over the world.
I could not imagine that I'll be going from Edo straight to the airport by train.
And the environment is so clean, and the ACs are cool.
I want to commend the federal government for the initiative to provide these train services.
And I wish to
laud the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari in seeing that this project is a reality.
Please get ready to alight on the right side of the train. Thank you.
Agenda 2030. As a successor framework for the Millennium Development Goals, the global community rolled out a bigger, deeper, and more encompassing framework called the Sustainable Development Goals, designed to transform our world, lift the poor out of poverty, as well as ensure inclusive and healthy society. On Agenda 2030, we take you on a media trip to the global destination of the future we want. With everyone on board, we focus on the people and their struggle, the civil society and their agitations, the government and her development effort, the global development agenda, its 17 goals and 169 targets. We bring you all the deliberations, insightful conversations, and high-level partnerships on the road to global destination. Agenda 2030, showing on this channel. Agenda 2030, leaving no one behind.
Yeah, Modena. Mode. Do you have amala? Yes. And Abula? Yes, sir. Black or white? Yamala. Have I ever eaten white amala here before? Yes, sir. Give me amala and Abula. Do you have dodo? Dodo 2 grams. Good. Let me have some dodo. I want you to put the meat in a bowl. Shaki, fuku, abodi. I like my edo to be very tender. You have stockfish? Yes, sir. Good. Let's have some stockfish. And the catfish, my favorite. Don't mind them. You have eggs. I would like 6 boiled eggs. No eggs. Okay, the catfish will do. And then rice. Rice and then some salad. Look. Never mind. Do you have a kuru?
Welcome back. With the current status of food security and improved welfare of the people, stakeholders say Nigeria is on the right track in the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals SDG programs. Ahmed reports that the Nigerian Television Authority NTA was also honored for effective reportage of SDG activities in the country.
After MDGs transformed into SDGs, when over 100 heads of government globally signed the initiative to improve the welfare of people, especially in the rural areas, it is time to count the gains and map out strategies to achieve more in the implementation of projects. This year's celebration by the stakeholders is focused on sustaining peace, justice for all, and the need to address climate change, especially now that flood is ravaging many Nigerian states. Katsina State was rated high in the implementation of projects that touched the lives of the rural dwellers.
The United Nations will receive our information on what we have done here today. So that by next year, when they are trying to evaluate our sustainable development performance, they will put us in our right position.
Since inception to date, he has spent more than 8 billion naira for developmental projects under the Sustainable Development Goals, and it is attested by many organizations who have gone and seen it.
Plant trees that, as they save the environment, they also contribute to the well-being of the persons.
I believe no poverty, good health, good drinking water, it's something that really needs to be encouraged.
And for the Nigeria Television Authority's reportage of SDG projects in the country was rewarded with the Best Corporate Social Responsibility for Efficient Reportage Award. Ahmed, NTA News.
And now to sports. Nigeria's national women basketball team, the Tigers, about 1 hour ago qualified for the quarterfinals of the FIBA Women's World Cup, beating Greece 57-56. Amanze Marcus reports that the team has earlier defeated Argentina on Tuesday.
Nigeria's national women's basketball team, the Tigresses, on Tuesday won their third match at the ongoing FIBA Women's World Cup in Tenerife, Spain. They defeated Argentina 75 to 70 points after losing their first Group B encounter 86 to 68 to Australia and beating Turkey 74 to 68.
Akathor gets down the low block.
As part of activities to commemorate the 2018 United Nations Peace Day, an NGO weekend in Abuja organized a novelty march for children from various schools across the FCT to preach the gospel of peace. Organizers of the novelty march say children are more affected by any breakdown of peace, hence the focus on them.
We are all here today calling on world leaders to say, let them be peace.
The United Nations Peace Day is observed September 21st of every year. In a bid to encourage and interact with the internally displaced persons in the country, a novelty football match was on Tuesday put together by the Oni of Ife, Adeyeye Eniton Ogunwusi, at the IDP camp in Wasa, Abuja. The match saw Team A in blue beat Team B in yellow 4-3 on penalties. The traditional ruler, who was represented, called on individuals and organizations to always remember less privileged members of the society and those displaced by circumstances beyond their control.
This is a very good thing for them, a signal for them to let them know that someone somewhere cares for them.
Former world number one Andy Murray is now in the second round of the Shenzhen Open in China, with his opponent China's Zhang Zizhen retiring in the third set. Murray, ranked 311th, led 6-3, 6-7, 4-2 before the incident. The world number 340 gave the Briton a stern test, and this is the last competition Murray is competing in, having decided to end his season early.
That's it on Nationwide today. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.